Welcome to the Franchise Minute. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. Today's topic is technology, and we have a very special guest today, Dan Barton with Splash and Dash Dog Groomery and Boutique. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I am so glad that you are here. With the topic of technology, you were immediately the person I knew we had to have on the podcast to talk about it. So what we're going to do to start us off, Dan, tell us a little bit about you and Splash and Dash.
Well, I started Splash and Dash back in 2008 for my baby named Mercedes, 10-pound Yorkie. You can kind of see her behind me there. So I was fortunate that, or she was pretty fortunate that I think she was the only dog in town that had her very own pet store. And so, with my love of technology and my love of business, I realized that the pet industry is absolutely huge. There's just unbelievable opportunity. And so Mercedes and I worked through everything, and we launched Splash and Dash Groomery and Boutique. And so here we are in 2023 with 13 open locations, 52 under development, and things are just going crazy.
Fantastic. That is such an amazing story, and thank you for sharing it with us. And Dan and audience, what we're going to do now is watch the Franchise Minute on technology, and then Dan's going to explain how franchisors, and in particular Splash and Dash, use technology throughout its business. So here we go. Let her roll. Welcome to the Franchise Minute. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist, and today's topic is technology. One of the huge advantages of a franchise is its use of technology. Technology is where franchises can be a smashing success and offer a significant differentiator in a crowded marketplace. The best franchises invest in technology and apply it throughout their organizations to drive operational efficiencies, to enhance data collection and analysis, as well as to drive sales and marketing. As a franchisee, expect your franchise to have proprietary software to help you manage and analyze your business. You don't need to be a tech guru to be a successful franchisee. This is because the training you receive will cover everything you need to know. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist, and come back next week to learn more about franchises. Dan, as a leader in technology, help the audience understand what your technology is built on.
Well, the technology is built with artificial intelligence, right? But before we get into the details of that, I just want to make sure that the audience is clear that there's a difference between a franchise having a lot of technology versus a franchise having its own proprietary technology, right? And there's a big difference. Proprietary software, like what we have at Splash and Dash, is built for our process and our model. It can't be used really anywhere else. Versus a lot of franchises will employ technology, but what they're using is something like Monday.com, or they're using other software that's off the shelf that then is slightly customized to their business, which is great, but it doesn't truly run their business. It helps them store data, store information, but it doesn't run the business. And so we made the decision very early on that I wanted technology that we owned, that I have my own coders that I can go talk to, and that our technology would run the business. It would mimic our processes and everything that we do at Splash and Dash. So we decided that the best way to do that was going to be to build our platform on artificial intelligence. Now, we started that many years ago, and now artificial intelligence has kind of caught up where everyday people like you and I can get into ChatGPT and use it. But artificial intelligence has been around for a little bit longer, and so our system, what we do is the software manages and runs the entire operation. It is, through its artificial intelligence, it is determining what is the next best step or move for a team member or a manager to ensure that we're being efficient and profitable at every step throughout the day, right? And so basically, to kind of simplify it, what the artificial intelligence is doing is it's tracking every employee, and each one of those employees, we're tracking how they're performing against our test times. Then we're tracking each individual dog to see how the dog performs within our facility, right? Because not every dog loves getting a bath. And so, and then what we're also doing is we're tracking our customers. And so, with all of that data put together, we then build in our model, and the AI takes on the responsibility to make sure that we're being efficient every step of the way. And so, an example would be if we have an employee, we'll say the employee's name is Mark. Maybe Mark is 20% faster at a particular task, where Sarah on the same team doing the same task may be 10, 15% slower. Maybe she's just, that's not her favorite task to do, so she's slightly slower. But maybe on task 2, she's 20, 30% faster. So our software is analyzing all of that. So the software knows that Mark's on the schedule, Sarah's on the schedule, but we know that when Mark works with poodles, he's 20% faster on task A. Where Sarah, when she's working with poodles on task A, she's 30% slower. But then it also knows that when Sarah comes in, that Sarah is 30% faster when it comes to working with Yorkies versus Mark maybe 10% slower working with Yorkies. And so that could be, that Mark maybe was bit by a Yorkie in his previous life, right? He's just not comfortable with Yorkies. Where Sarah has 2 Yorkies of her own. She's super comfortable with them, loves them more than the other dogs. But the artificial intelligence is calculating that every second, right? And making sure that the flow, our workflow, is going to the right person at the right time. It's also looking in the future. So it's looking 2, 3 dogs in advance and saying, okay, those 2, 3 future dogs that we have coming in are going to be better suited with Sarah, who's going to be 30% faster. So maybe we give this dog now to Mark, even though he is only 10% faster. It allows us to make up the difference on the future dogs going to Sarah. And then,
wow.
Yeah, so it's analyzing all of that every second of the day. And again, that is making sure that our franchisees are being profitable and most efficient on every single transaction, versus a lot of businesses will look at their P&L on a daily or on a monthly basis and say, okay, we were profitable last month. We're looking at it and saying, were we profitable on that last transaction, that
Wow.
last dog? Right. So
In
it
real
just brings
time.
it to a complete, in real time, just brings it to a completely different level, being able to use the artificial intelligence, which allows things to move faster, takes out the human error, because we've got a lot of really smart franchisees. And I like to think I'm smart, but I'm not nearly as smart, nor can I calculate as fast as our software can do it. And that's the
Well,
big
if
difference.
is I've heard a lot of differences in what you shared. So is I want to make sure that I understand, as does the audience. So you're saying that when there's a dog that's coming in to be washed and groomed, that you the technology schedules the correct people to be working on that addition on that pet, and it takes into account even the next 2 or 3 dogs that are coming in, so that your staffing is optimized and your operation runs as efficiently and as profitably as possible. Is that right?
You nailed it. Do you want to come work at
I
Splash and
nailed
Dash?
it. Good. You want to splash and dash? You're convincing me. You really are, Dan. You're very good. Okay, so this may be, maybe you can provide just a little bit more detail, but I mean, this is a lot of technology. I see a lot of differentiators. I mean, you're like over the top, disrupting the pet grooming industry with your use of technology, and it's based on AI, and I don't know how many other, you know, if any other pet franchise is anywhere near that. I would say probably not, probably zero.
They're
So
not.
this is
Yeah, we
really
are the only
massive.
one.
Massive
Yeah.
differentiator. That's fantastic. So let's bring it down to the individual franchisee, how all this technology that is part of the business embedded in it, how does it really help them operate and manage the business? The staffing part, I think we just got that explained, but what
Yeah.
about other aspects?
So I think the best way to understand it is if you had two general managers, let's just take
Mm-hmm.
that for a scenario, right? And in our
Mm-hmm.
case, you would have an invisible general manager and then you have your physical general manager, right? And so the invisible we call Fido, which is what we call our software. Fido
Okay.
is working behind the scenes, uninterrupted, doesn't need a break, doesn't talk back to you, doesn't need emotion, doesn't need anything. And Fido's running in the background, giving you and guiding you and what you need to do to be successful, right? And if you make a mistake, if you lean one way, the software is going to come back and immediately say, wait a minute, I don't think that's the best way to do it. And it's going to give you an option to do it a better way so that you're efficient, right? And so it's almost like you've got this invisible general manager at a very high level, constantly analyzing your business and making sure that the processes are being followed, but not only followed, but maximized all the way through. I'll
Mm-hmm.
give you an example on the consumer side of where this really makes a huge difference. So
Okay.
we tell our customers, your dog's going to be ready in 4 hours. However, the software is hard coded to get it done in 3.5 hours. At a typical grooming shop or PetSmart, Petco, when the dog
Mm-hmm.
is finished, let's say the dog is done at 4 o'clock, somebody at the shop's going to pick up the phone and call that pet owner and say, oh, Mrs. Jones, your baby's ready. Come pick him up. Then that owner's going to come pick him up. There are some businesses that have texting available. So they'll send out a quick text message. They hit a button, send the text message to the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Our system, very different. And so what we do is we're analyzing the customer. So we look at the customer and say, okay, over the last 8 times, when we have sent them a message at 4 p.m. that their dog is ready, how many minutes has it taken them from the time we've sent the text message to when they pick up? So let's say it's 30 minutes. All right. So now the dog's ready at 4, the customer doesn't come till 4:30. Our system is intelligent enough to know that Anna always takes 30 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to send that message to the owner 30 minutes before the actual dog is done, because we know on average it takes them 30 minutes. So now what ends up happening is the dog is being finished right at 4 o'clock. Guess who's walking through the door? Anna to pick up her dog right at 4 o'clock. So we pick up that 30 minutes. Now, in our world, when we're doing anywhere from 60 to 100 dogs a day, that 30-minute
Wow.
window that we pick up adds up, right? Because now we've got a
Right.
free kennel that we can bring in the next dog. And so the artificial intelligence, or the way the system works, it works not only for the franchise owner, helping them manage the business, but it's also managing our customers and analyzing what they do so that we can respond in a way that helps us to be more efficient and more profitable.
Dan, this is just fascinating. I wish we had another 15 minutes, but we've run out of time. If someone wants to learn more about Splash and Dash, what do you suggest they do?
Well, they got to first reach out to you without a doubt, right? You are the guru. You've got all the information. They need to reach out and talk with you first. And then from there, we can talk to them from Splash and Dash.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for joining us. Audience, this is Dan Barton, the founder and CEO of Splash and Dash Dog Groomery and Boutique. Dan, it has been such a pleasure. Thank you so very much. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. Come back next week to learn more about franchising.